Hi, this is Mateo's 2020 Politics here, and today we'll be discussing who will receive each reward for the Democratic debate. So, the types of rewards that the candidates will be receiving in this video are the winner, the dark horse, flatliners, aka they just were boring, the second place loser, the first place loser, and the spiritualist. Basically, Marianne Williamson 2.0. So, let's just get this right off the bat. Winner, Bernie Sanders. Now, first debate, I marked the winner as Kamala Harris. For the second debate, I marked it as Tulsi Gabbard. For the third debate, I marked it as Julian Castro. And now for this one, it's Bernie Sanders. Now, why am I saying this? Because with Bernie Sanders, he always does at least decently, especially when he starts ranting on about, people, about working people. He starts ranting about economic issues, but he never uses statistics, except for this time. He actually used statistics. He said tens of thousands, 30,000 people die every single year because they can't pay for the health care insurance. He said that tens of thousands of people get employed every year because they can't afford their health care insurance. He also said that half of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Actually, that's slightly false. It's actually 80% or almost 80% of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck. But if anything, I just proved his point even more. When he said 50% people live paycheck to paycheck, I think he got confused with 50% of people make $30,000 every year or less. But either way, you can see the substance is correct. So, absolutely he nailed it on healthcare. He nailed it on economic issues, and also, not only nailed on healthcare, but he specifically nailed Joe Biden on healthcare, because Joe Biden was like, we need universal healthcare, we need Obamacare, and Bernie was like, no, there's people getting unemployed, there's people dying, how could you say that? And it was just such a satisfying moment. Dark horse, meaning they had a big improvement. Kamala Harris. Is she one of them winners? Maybe. Because one thing I found was that nobody was relaxed, or except for a couple. Like, most people everybody just seemed kind of angry the whole entire time. Cranky. I don't know why, but even people like Amy Klobuchar, who usually is very kind, was just really aggressive this time, and so was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Everybody had a really serious tone, and Kamala Harris is the best example of that. Last time she kept giggling and just being really relaxed, like kumbaya. Oh. I can't do her laugh, but this time she was really serious. She didn't laugh a single time, and I don't know if it's because she picked up from last debate or she just generally thought, okay, let me just be more decisive, more direct. But it paid off, definitely, because I don't know if it's going to cause more people to support her that are not supporting her already. I think it's just going to solidify her base, so she stopped dropping, because right now, if you're just a kind of apolitical guy, you're just joining in for this one debate. And again, I'm thinking of this in terms of you're just watching this one debate. You're gonna think of her as a serious person. You don't joke around with them. You take them seriously. But maybe you consider supporting them, but you might not. At the end of the day, for sure support her. You might support Bernie Sanders, but that she's definitely going to be taken seriously by many viewers. Flatliners, Julian Castro and Beto O'Rourke, the two Texans. Now, what do I mean by flatliners? Well, they were just flat. I mean, it might be either case number one, they're boring, or case number two, they were just decent. They never said anything crazy. And it's because the thing with Beto O'Rourke is that, and Castro too, is that when they stand out, they really stand out. When they don't stand out, they really don't. So what I mean is, the way Castro thrives is when he gets into a confrontation. Because when he gets into a confrontation, he does very well. He gets aggressive, and he gets really intriguing to watch. With Beto O'Rourke, the way when he is intriguing to watch, when he's intimidating, it's because he says something that's unique. When he says something unique, like he wants to do a mandatory gun buyback, but the two of them just avoid all conflict and really just went back to their usual talking points, and just what they were saying was not unique. It just seemed very average, and they had no confrontation moments. So, is the Flatliner a good or bad reward? Well, I say it's not definitely good or bad. Well, obviously it isn't good. It's bad, but of course not as bad as the losers. So I would have to tie these two guys for the third place loser. Um, right now, we can move on to the second place loser. We have Joe Biden. Again, Bernie destroyed him in healthcare, basically showing them, look, man, you have tens of thousands of people who are going bankrupt because they can't pay for the health insurance, or they're straight up dying because they can't pay for the health insurance. They have cancer. And then there's also the fact that Joe Biden, when he was asked a bunch of questions about Ukraine and his son, he would just straight up avoid them, and it was kind of weird because I do believe Joe Biden actually did much better this time. He was much more aggressive, and when he's aggressive, he's better. But at the same time, it was not enough to make him a winner. He was still a loser, in my opinion. Or not my opinion, it's what I know. Because he was much better this time, but he still is just not... I'm sorry, I don't want to blame him on his age, but when you have a man who's in his late 70s, you have a ton of younger and people who are more... You have a ton of people who are younger and more in touch with reality. Debating you, it's going to be hard because he could just tell you it's out of touch. Even if you're apolitical, you just join in on this debate, you could tell he's out of touch. He had no good moments. He had many just decent, kind of boring moments where you spaced out. If you space out while watching the debate or certain candidates speak, it's not your fault. It's that they're boring. So Joe Biden mainly had he had a couple bad, but mainly decent moments. Now, I'm just gonna scroll up here. Loser, and this is actually very surprising. Andrew Yang. Now, you guys must be thinking, Andrew Yang, why Mateo? Well, look, most of us middle school are political junkies, and yes, I'm saying that the fact that we're all middle schoolers, we're all political junkies, that's a privilege. We should be proud of that. So, if other kids say, oh, you're into politics, so boring. No, it's not boring. It's too advanced for them. So, you should be proud of yourselves. Just a quick note. Because you are political junkies, you understand that Andrew Yang is actually a pretty decent candidate. He makes sense. But I was hoping that this time he would talk more about different issues instead of UBI, because after a while, let me just be honest, I don't dislike him, but he gets very irritating because when you have one guy just talking about one issue which nobody else is talking about, it's literally just them, and not only they're the only ones talking about it, but they're not talking about anything else. It just gets really irritating because it shows that they're really obsessed with it and they're not willing to talk about anything else. He just kept bringing it up, and he just went to the full extreme this time. He's never talked about UBI this much. So to the average apolitical viewer who joins in this one time and says, you know what, why not watch the debate? They're going to see Andrew Yang as this guy who's just, all he knows about is UBI. He knows the stuff about it, but that's the only thing he actually knows about. So it's not that he had bad moments, just moments. He actually did have really good moments because when he was talking about UBI, he would show his knowledge, and it was good, but, sometimes they say, less is more. I don't know if I got that wrong. Less is more. Because, yes, he did well when he would talk about UBI, but he still talked about it too much, and it just gets really irritating after a while. The spiritualist, basically, Marianne Williamson's new boyfriend, Cory Booker. Why do I say this? Well, Cory Booker always speaks like this. We have common values and common purpose. We have more in common than we have in differences. Notice how I pronounced C's. So we have to unite together as a country. So he's always speaking like that, but he just went full spiritualism mode this time. So is this a good reward? No. Is it a bad reward? No. Is it a decent reward? Just an average reward? No, it's you could really perceive it either way, because if you like spiritualism, then this is a good reward. If you dislike it, then of course you think this is a negative reward. And it also, it depends on if you like Marianne Williamson or not. But I personally like it, but think of it this way. It's interesting. Spiritualism is cool. But when you're talking about it while you're running for president, you're not being specific enough. You're being really broad. You're talking about kindness and unity. And I find that Cory Booker, again, could be irritating too, like Andrew Yang, because he has a similar case compared to Andrew Yang, where he would just talk about one issue when it actually isn't an issue, it's just a topic, unity, common values. And after a while, it's just, I don't even think he's doing it as a political calculation. I think it's just him. So, yeah, guys, those are the rewards for the candidates of this video. Let me summarize them. Winner, Bernie Sanders. Dark horse, Kamala Harris. Flatliners, Julian Castro and Beto O'Rourke, also known as Robert O'Rourke. The second place loser, Joe Biden. Sole loser, and again, I don't like saying this, Andrew Yang. And the spiritualist, Cory Booker.